Hello and welcome to our next art tutorial with a cameo from the cat, of course. So what we're going to be working on today is a skill builder called 50 Shades of Swatches. And yes, I know I had some fun with the name. As most of you know, a swatch is a sample piece of color, material, fabric, those kind of things. But in this case specifically, it is to show different shades of a different color or even the same color. If you're stuck on what's a shade means light to dark. So if you remember whenever we did our black and white unit with drawing and we were drawing our orange, we were trying to figure out the different shades, meaning from our brightest point, our highlight, to our darkest, which is our shadow. And everything in between was a mid-tone. So everything in that you learned is what's called a shade. So I'm going to bring the camera down and that way I can kind of show you what's going on with this particular skill builder. And as always, I will apologize in advance for the cat. All right, so in this particular skill builder, since we're finishing up our painting unit, we're going to be working with watercolors. And we're working with watercolors for several reasons because one, well, we're shut down. And these are cheap and they're easy and they're contained. So that's just the first reason. But also because the techniques that I want to teach you work better with watercolors specifically. So whenever you get this sheet, I have it divided up into 5 columns, 10 rows, giving you exactly 50 squares. And I know it can be very daunting when people see this because they're like, what on earth am I doing with this? That's the point of me doing this demo tutorial for you so that you can understand there's actually a really easy way to do this. So because we have 5 columns and the 10 rows, the best way I can explain how to do this method is anything at the top is going to be solid and dark, more, I guess, vibrant, if anything. And as you go down your rows with that same color, it's going to be lighter, more diluted, more translucent, that kind of thing, even though you're using the same color. And this is how you can get 10 different shades of one color, and then you can use another color, another one, and another one. So let's start out with the basic stuff. I'm going to start out with red, so I'm just going to go ahead and put in a little bit of water with my watercolors. Let's see how it comes out. All right, to start off, I'm going to purposely pick out this color and work all my way down before I move on to the next color. So in this square, I'm going to go ahead and paint in my red. And you can pick whatever colors you want for this, guys. You don't have to go exactly the way I'm doing this. All right, so as you know with watercolors, it takes a while for it to dry. So just FYI, be mindful of where your hands are whenever you're doing this. So what I can do now is take that same red. I'm actually going to put a little bit more water to the side to start to slowly dilute it. And diluting meaning I'm trying to make it look less solid. There we go. So we can already see all the difference on the camera with these. This is more solid, this is more translucent. But let's say I wanted to have something that was even darker than that, but I made it too light. All I would suggest is just wait for it to dry and you can add more paint on top. So what I'm trying to do is just use up the rest of the water because this will dry much faster than you think if you just do a thinner coat. If you're doing a thick coat, yeah, it's gonna be a while for it to dry. So I'm just taking the remaining paint that I have and just gonna go down my squares, get more water, and get it more diluted. All right. Now I'm not going to say that this is done. I really do want to go back and actually add more to this. So I can either wait for it to dry or I can choose to grab just a little bit of that paint originally And just kind of go back in and add a layer while it's still semi-wet. I'm not trying to use too much water because then if I do, it'll go all over the page. But if you start from your dark, go ahead and go to your lightest point by just adding more and more water to it. You can slowly kind of go back and just add another layer of red or whatever color that you're using to get the upper boxes a little bit darker. So do one last one right here. Okay, so I'm gonna let these dry, and as you can tell, my paper is starting to curl because it's absorbing the water. That's very normal. It doesn't mean I'm using too much water. I'm probably using just the right amount. But as this dries, this is going to show different shades. And let's say if I feel like the bottom 3 or the bottom 4 are the exact same, I can go back and add like a little bit of different color, or I can layer it with another color just to show the differences between it. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to pick my next color, and I'm just going to go down my row of colors. I'm going to choose my orange next. Okay, pretty orange. That. I'll continue this down. So instead of you having to watch me do this all over again, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and finish out the rest of the rows. And then I'm going to let it dry so you can kind of see what does it look like when it's fully dry, because it really does look really different afterwards. So give me just a second. I'm going to quickly pause this. All right, so I went ahead and finished out my columns. I'm trying this so you can see it a little bit better. And as you can tell at the very top, they are darker and a little bit more vivid with their colors, but as they slowly progress down the columns, they start to get more diluted. And unfortunately, towards the bottom, as you'll notice if you do your first coat, a lot of like halfway down is going to look the same. So what I would suggest is waiting for this to fully dry. And then what you can do, and I'll kind of give you a demonstration on this, is let's say on my yellows, like these two are different, then there's this third one, and then everything else kind of like looks the same. So I'm going to go back and add just a little bit of yellow, use some water to help dilute it because you don't want it to be as dark as the one at top, but you want to add a little bit of a layer. So let's see that. There we go. And you can kind of spread it downward to help get that difference. Now let's say another way you want to do it is you want to go back up to the top and make your thing darker and then go over it one more time. You can do that. I actually did that with the red about halfway down. So I can go back over my yellow once it is actually dry and make it more vivid, make it darker if I want. And again, I would use water to help dilute this and slowly go down my column. This is how you can get those nice vivid tones, but as you progress down and dilute it with water, you can get those nice subtleties down here. There we go. We're gonna add a little bit more. And there you go. You don't have to go over like the very bottom one. And already that is making a huge difference in my opinion on here. Now, let's say hypothetically you do that and you still have a few that look kind of the same. Wait till everything is dry. And then what you could do if you want at the bottom 2 rows, totally up to you, or if you want to pick a specific row like here, and you want to overlap it with a different color all the way across. Definitely experiment with that and do it. So maybe, for example, I want to do this row right about here, and I want to add a purple and just see what happens. So I'm going to pick a purple. I'm going to dilute it down so it's not like super dark on it, but it will show a difference on top. So I'm going to pick here, add my purple, go over the blue, go over my green, go over my yellow, orange, and red. Go a little bit more. And just like that, you have a completely new shade of color. And all we did was add a different layer of a different color on this, not just working with one color. And once this dries, you'll actually see the subtle differences between everything on here. And if you want to say, hey, I want to keep doing that, then what you could do is you can continue the rows down just so you could show different things. So if I were to go that route, I would probably pick a different color and work my way down. Or if I want to continue with my purple, I would just dilute it even more on this. So what I'm going to do is actually let this dry a little bit, and then I can show you a few more tricks to help you with the 50 shades of swatches. All right, give me just a sec. All right, so what I did is I added a layer of brown since I didn't have my black on this particular set. Your set might actually have a black, mine did not. And I used my white on the very bottom row and did a white layer over these guys. So if I get this a little closer, you'll be able to see there is a slight difference between these rows, just because this one looks like it has a little bit more gray tone because of the white, and this one just looks like a diluted version of, well, that row. So this is what the purple looks like when it goes over each of these colors. And here is your brown, and same thing as it goes, you'll see slight subtleties between each one. So this really is not a very difficult assignment, but I know that some people will struggle with it. So be patient, take your time with this. If you're stuck, ask me questions, please. And since we are quarantined, please don't forget, when you finish these assignments, you need to take a photo either with your phone or your camera on your computer, and you need to upload these under each skill builder assignment. So please ask the questions, remember to upload these, or else I cannot give you the 10 points credit for this. All right, can't wait to see you next time. I'll see you then. Bye.